I was going for a flavor that reminded me of something that I look back now and say, why do I want to remember that? Right? That was making me unhealthy and sick and fat and stupid. I mean, I honestly wasn't able to think the way that I can think today. I'm so much faster on my feet when I'm talking to people today than I was back then. It's like, why would I want to reminisce that flavor? Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat.
Today we're going to do a few comments from The Real Secret to Conquering Food Cravings.
Yeah, the first one, I'm sorry, is going to sound like we're doing a mean tweet or a mean comment video, but it's not about that. But there was some interesting idea in the comment. So, you see, the first one, you seem low energy and washed out and don't look particularly healthy or lively. Incorporating more fitness rather than extreme restriction on everything, like zero fruit, barely any veg, would enliven you.
The first thing I want to say is that this person, because they didn't like what I had to say about food cravings being addiction, decides to attack whether or not I'm a healthy, lively, energetic person. And they want to call me washed out. What does that have to do with whether or not, right? So, but the second thing I'm going to say is that she says that incorporating more fitness. I didn't talk in this video about whether or not I do fitness. Why does she believe that I don't do anything? Again, because she didn't like what I have to say, all of a sudden I must be one of those people that doesn't do any fitness. So all of my wellness warriors already know that I ride every vehicle that you could possibly ride, winter and summer. Okay, but she also says that I'm using extreme restriction. No fruit, no veg. Again, all my wellness warriors already know, when I was eating a standard American diet, Patrick, how much fruit and veg did I eat?
Yeah, not much. Like maybe a couple of bananas, maybe once in a while, but like you didn't buy them really.
First of all, I didn't buy them. Hear what he said. So if I went to his house and there was a strawberry there, I might have eaten that. If there was a kiwi there, I might have eaten that. If there was a banana, 9 times out of 10, I didn't eat it because there were always bananas.
So it's not particularly restrictive in your case. You just don't like fruits.
So starting off with, Violet never liked fruit. Starting off with, Violet never liked veg. So am I actually, in terms of living a healthy ketogenic lifestyle, am I actually restricting I eat more vegetables today than I ate when I was standard American diet. But in reality, do I eat a lot? No. So that's part one. Walking into a story and making assumptions about what I do and don't eat, making assumptions about how energetic or not energetic I am, because you don't like the conclusions that I come to about food cravings. Interesting. But she goes on to say something else that's very, very much more interesting.
So that's not really about health. It's about restriction to avoid addiction. But still, if you exercise rigorously, you can obviously eat more fruit and would need more carbs. And this is the part that's not true at all. Even I can say that that's not true. Fruits have fructose. Fructose, like we showed in past video, that is like damaging to your system. So exercise the amount you want. It's never going to be a good excuse to put fruit in your diet. Right?
So I want to just know in the comments, anybody, just answer this question. If I told you that I'm going to give you this vial of poison, but don't worry, 30 seconds after that, I'm going to give you the vial of antidote, how many of you are actually drinking that poison? Right? It doesn't make any sense. Even though I'm going to give you the antidote, why would you harm yourself for that 30 seconds? There will be some kind of repercussion, and we don't know what it would be. The truth is, you cannot exercise your way out of a problem you ate your way into. No matter how much exercise you do, the sugar was in your body and it was damaging whatever it was going to damage. And here's the part that when people like this put their information out on the internet, they're not telling you. For Violet, it was weight gain and inflammation. For Patrick, it was weight gain and high blood pressure. For other people, there's no weight gain, but there's PCOS. For other people, there's weight gain and PCOS. Guess what? We don't know what our individual body is going to do with the sugar because each of us is different. We just know it has to do something because if it stays in the blood, you die. Some people get colitis, an irritable bowel syndrome, and weight gain. Now, there's always a teeny bit of weight gain, but at the end of the day, all this person is focusing on is the weight.
Mhm.
I don't mind my diet. Guess what? At my age, I make all my own food. I'm not relying on anybody else. We need to be realistic. I'm not restricted in my diet. I choose to eat the way that I eat. So this comment is just her not liking the fact that I called out the fact that sugar is addictive.
It's addictive. Totally. Yeah.
Now, you don't have to like what I say. You don't have to do anything with the information I put out there. I put it out there because I know there are people out in the world, so my wellness warriors, who want to improve. And when I let you know that sugar cravings are really sugar addiction, then you can take steps to improve your life. That's why I put this information out. But I will say it again. You cannot exercise your way out of a problem that you ate your way into. It just doesn't work. The energy that you're using came from the meal that you ate yesterday.
Next comment. I know your child doesn't eat keto, but what are your thoughts on intuitive eating in children? I have a 2 years old, and currently we avoid wheat and added sugar. I am very keen to set my son up for success and health, but perceived restriction can lead to disordered eating in children.
That's reality that we have not pushed our kids to eat keto. My daughter dabbled in trying. She found it difficult. 2 of our 3 kids have dramatically
Yeah.
diminished how much carb they eat. Dramatically.
Carbs,
But they still,
especially added sugar. But for me, I would say added sugar. They do still do eat carbs, but like I think the desserts.
okay.
were-
Yeah, I
yeah.
concur with that.
Yeah.
They've dramatically diminished their desserts. The desserts are still there. So I'm not going to say that they don't eat them. And we allow the desserts to be still there. So there's a reason for that, which goes to what she's saying. It's like at this point in time, we acknowledge we've already made the mistake of getting them addicted to these things. So now it's their decision, with our help, to pull themselves out of this bad position that we put them in. So I cannot, in good conscience, put my daughter in a situation where she's going to want it even more by restricting her from having something that I put her on in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. That would be me punishing her for me making a mistake. At the same time, I recognize, and she recognizes, how much carbohydrate you eat matters. And so does our boy. He recognizes how much carb you eat matters. So they, with our help, because they've seen what I was doing, they see what Pat is doing, and so they've actually diminished quite a bit. I mean, the other day when dessert time came around, of course my daughter didn't come out because she never does, but then your son said, not me neither.
Yeah.
And it was like, yay,
Oh, yeah.
right? So we just had the one that had dessert that day, right? And these are the good things that you start to see. So at the age that our kids are at, forcing them doesn't make sense.
But then again, like they're 15, so like you said. But what about Lauren that actually has a 2 years old? Like,
Yeah. So that's
she's
a
in a
different
good
story.
position, to
Exactly.
actually listen to to her kid.
So here's the flip side of the story, Lauren. You're in a great position because you're actually in the position to just listen to him. Chances are, if you, depending on when you started listening to him, you're going to notice, first of all, he's not rushing towards carbs as much as you think he is. If you just allow him to have access to good quality meat, good quality low carb vegetables, cheese and nuts and like all the things that are healthier, and like stay less towards the junk food. Like, I don't know if you noticed it. I did notice it with my daughter. I didn't understand it at the time what was happening. She didn't like sweet. My daughter only started eating sweet for real after 4 years old, was when she was like in our house. Like, that's when I decided, okay, it's okay for her to have candy. She didn't want it. She only actually started eating it around 6. That was the first time. Her 6th birthday was the first time she actually ate a piece of cake. Her 6th birthday. I think the thing that I'm trying to point out to you to think about, Lauren, is that if you actually pay attention to your kid, you might notice already that there's not that big of a push towards it, except that we keep offering it to them.
So what I want to add to that, like, is at 2 years old, he's probably, there's good chance he's not like addicted to carb like as we were. So well, it could depends on like what you buy. From
Which
what
you've
I
been
read
feeding him.
there, like yeah, from
But
what I
you're
read
you're
in
a
there,
dental
like,
hygienist and you've been
so
paying
yeah,
attention, so I'm
so
doubting it too.
so no added sugar, no processed food. If you keep feeding him whole foods, like he's off to a good start.
Yeah. When we offer our kids something, then they get used to eating that something, then they can be on the train where they want it. So the difference between you saying he can't have it versus it just not being something that you have in your home, there's a huge difference, right? If in your home you guys have healthy foods and he goes to his friend's house and he has a sip of soda or a cookie, like that's one sip of soda or a cookie in the grand scheme of what he's eating at home. And what I find really interesting there is that if I would have followed my daughter and not pushed these foods, she never would have wanted it. She was showing clearly a preference towards healthy foods, and we kept offering it to her, like not knowing what we were doing. And I didn't know at that time what I was doing. Today, I would have followed her, right? But so fast forward, yes, now she's in that situation because of me, which is why I don't fight with her, because I see that it was my mistake. But by not fighting with them, all three of them, and I mean, I have to be honest, like the third one's coming on board. It's taking a little longer, but he is coming on board. He's talking about building muscles and all. It's like he's coming on board, and we know we're going to get him. We're going to get him. But the other two, like they really do make choices, and it's really, they're starting to listen to themselves. Am I actually hungry? Like they're making better choices. It's 100% visible.
Like the third one we're talking about, like, and it brings the idea, like the routine. Like he's a little creature of routine. So if you put on his plate something that he likes like 3 days in a row, for him it's like, oh okay, no, I can't have, like I'm just thinking about the chips with like the sandwich at lunch, not at school obviously. Like at school we stand, like I tend to send him with better like vegetables to go along with sandwich, even though there's bread. But on the weekend, like he has chips with his sandwich and it's like expected now. So I have to be, like, as a dad, very careful of what I'm putting in. Like some things are given, but the other day he was requesting something for breakfast that he has with his mom, and I was like, no, like this is gonna stay with your mom. I took the decision, this is gonna stay with your mom, and at home you're gonna eat this, and like, okay, it's fine. But he tried. So be careful, like maybe the routine, because they're a little kid, they're creature of routines, like what you
were talking about disordered eating because of not getting what other people are getting. But honestly, I feel like it's not about blocking him from having it. It's about what I buy in my house is what I buy in. We had this conversation, Pat and I, because as I've said a billion times, I was never a fruit person. So in my house, my daughter was, I guess, theoretically deprived of fruit, right? Because I wasn't buying it. But you know what? When we went to his place, she had it. When we were at my place, she didn't. Even till today, like now that I'm purchasing differently because of keto, there are certain things that I just don't buy unless she actively requests when I'm at the store, oh, could you pick up this? But I will pick it up, like I said, because I'm the reason she eats this way. And I know her. She's going to eat one, and I'm probably going to throw the rest in the garbage. But I would rather do that than have her feel deprived. So I do it. I will buy a bag of cookies or I'll buy whatever. A lot of the time they stay there till her friends come over and then they eat it together, in which case I know she didn't eat the whole thing, so yay. And that's good for me too. But like, she's not deprived. And if she eats out of the package 4 cookies before they start to look to me like, okay, it's time for them to go in the garbage, I rather do that than by saying no, she's sneakily buying things and eating the whole tray. So I understand what you're saying in terms of like not putting him in a bad position. But the flip side of that coin is, if he has it at a friend's house or whatever, it's not going to be the be all and end all. And chances are, if he's not used to eating it, he just won't want it. Like my nephew doesn't eat chocolate. He don't like it. Like, it's just like the kids have their thing, right? And it's like he just doesn't, he doesn't like it, right? Like, just it's not that they're going to chase things, or not that they're going to chase everything, right?
And for those of you who has like teens like us, just like, by example, just like tell them, bring them to make more healthy, conscious choices, and like it works. Honestly, like you said, it works. They still have like the occasional bread and rice, but like you said, they're like the added sugar takes a much less important place. I have one that barely dessert anymore. He eats like to satiation too, like He
I
does like
think
the pasta, the occasional pasta, but like then it's my decision, like because cook for the whole family when I have them. That like I don't like I even consider it like a treat, like maybe once a month that we'll have that they have pasta as a side because I usually do the vegetable, but I always try to have some vegetables also
like all three of them. The other day I made a meal that usually comes with rice, and I just completely forgot to make the rice, and not one of them complained. They were like, I think my daughter asked, like, "Oh, did you make the rice?" And I was like, "Yeah, oh, shoot, I forgot." And they were all three, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Like, and it was just like as quickly as the question was asked, they moved on. It's like, ah, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, go back. That would have been a problem. Years ago that I forgot to make the right. Well, I wouldn't have forgotten probably, but you know what I mean? So we see the difference is there, right? There was no pouting faces. There was no upset.
The other comment we had on that video comes from another chocolate holic. So the question.
He doesn't even know how to say it right. Chocoholic.
Chocoholic. Oh, chocolate. No,
I was a chocoholic. Say it correctly.
I chocoholic.
I was a chocoholic.
Chocoholic. Love chocolate.
So my fellow chocoholic, I understand you.
Yeah.
Okay. But what is
like
the question?
She's wondering because like a little bit like you described in like a past video about like your chocolate. You went I think after school, like stopped at the store to get some chocolate before having supper. I think it's the same idea. But she's wondering in a particular brand that like just that brand, she's like questioning if they do put addictive stuff because she's a relatively low carb eater, but like she couldn't get rid of that addiction to that specific brand of chocolate. So when I was reading the comment, I did take the comment like here to discuss it here because like my first answer was like, oh yeah, sure, they put sugar in that chocolate. That's why you're addicted to that chocolate. But like
but she's saying it's a specific brand.
Yeah, about a specific brand. Like yeah. So
Okay,
we all have our favorite. We did all have our favorite brand of chocolate. Like in.
I'm gonna sound so tainted right now. I've been reading Mark Hyman's book about food, the food fix. I'll put a link in the description below, and I think she might like be feeling something that's real.
Okay.
Apparently, there's so much that goes on. I know Mark did a podcast once where he actually interviewed somebody who had a tour through the food production for a specific chip.
Oh.
And what he learned in that tour is that they actually have food scientists who create foods that are hyper palatable. And honestly, to me, it's just like, the drug chemist finding the correct addictive property. For, like, basically is what it boils down to. That it is reality that food companies can find ways to hit on those specific things in people that are going to cause them to not be able to put down their food. This is what they're actively striving to do. So much so that this guy who took the tour learned in the tour that the people that work in there do not let their families eat these foods.
Okay.
Foods.
Yeah.
So do I feel like maybe because she mentioned a specific company, and she said it's just that one specific company that their chocolate, for some reason, she cannot put it down, but the other chocolate doesn't have the same effect on her. But is it possible? I can't say it's not possible. With all the things that I'm learning from reading this book, I cannot say it's not possible. But I think the other thing that I'm going to say, though, is that could there be a psychological element, right? Because she mentioned that since she was a little child, she had a love for this chocolate. Yeah. But at the same time, she says she remembers like crying and begging as a small child for her mom to go get it, which is where she pulled I think I was addicted.
Maybe there's an emotional thing to that, too.
Well, it sounds like maybe there was a physical addiction that she was living through that her parents didn't understand, and then she realizes it, and like today she's talking about it. So like I feel like it could be both, that there was, even though she was able to get her carb count, she said low carb, so it doesn't sound like she's doing keto. That might help. So if you're listening, Natalie, that might help to try to go a little lower. It might help you to get off. We have to add to that, there's caffeine in chocolate. There's lots of little bits and pieces to be addicted to.
I'm thinking right now, like, is it that those package, I'm not even going to call them chocolate, more like candy bars, there is very little chocolate. In fact, in those we're
The
seeing that video
brand
the
that
other
she's
day.
talking about, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, okay.
there's chocolate.
There's chocolate in there. Okay,
The brand that she's
because
specifically named, yes, there's chocolate.
because trying to get addicted to 95% cacao chocolate, like it's gonna be very hard because it's very very bitter. I still do like it once in a while, like it's part of the. I think that the new taste I developed with like low carb keto. The same goes, for example, with plain yogurt, which I could not stand before, and it's really hard to get addicted to plain yogurt, honestly. Um,
But I also feel
but
like
yeah,
we
like
underestimate how when we're not eating sugar, we can taste the sugar in things that we couldn't taste it in
yeah,
before,
true.
right? Like if you're eating regular plain yogurt, whereas before it would have tasted bland, because we don't eat sugar, we've tasted everything in it now. And it's the same thing with the 95, 99, 100%. I mean, 100% chocolate. So Baker's chocolate,
Mhm.
which I've like when I used to make things, I had taken a piece of, and it's like it didn't taste bad.
Mhm.
But again, like would I have been able to say that about Baker's chocolate back when I was eating real,
Yeah.
regular, normal
Standard
milk, whatever you want to call it,
milk
chocolate?
chocolate, yeah.
Like no, I wouldn't have been able, right? So I feel like it's also that the same way that when I tell people I taste the sweet in nuts, they look at me like, "What? Nuts are not sweet." I taste the sweet in nuts. That's why I can no longer eat them. Like so I feel like it's that like I don't know what they put in their specific blend of chocolate that could be more hyper palatable to people than, but it's a brand that sells a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not a brand that's having trouble making sales, I can tell you that.
But what we like, is there something we can suggest her to try to get rid of that addiction? Like it's really
I
like,
did. I made the
you put it-
suggestion of going lower carb. like
Lower
like
carb,
really
okay,
just
yeah.
going lower carb and like really putting yourself in that position where you have to choose between my health and that piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Because I feel like until you stop eating it, you're not going to be able to stop eating it. Like that's one of the problems with addiction. The reason I haven't had any chocolate in the last year and a half, 2 years, year and a half, is because I haven't had any. I have cacao powder in my cupboard that I had bought because sometimes I was putting it in my coffee. I don't even do that anymore. Like I just don't have it. I don't have it because because I don't need it anymore. Again, this is where it's like I was going for a flavor that reminded me of something that I look back now and say, why do I want to remember that? Right? That was
okay.
making me unhealthy and sick and fat and stupid. I mean, I honestly wasn't able to think the way that I can think today. I'm so much faster on my feet when I'm talking to people today than I was back then. It's like, why would I want to reminisce that flavor? Right? Now, does that mean I'm never going to have a keto something ever again? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. But am I saying that I'm right now feeling like I'm missing something? I'm so not missing anything, right? Like I know today I'm going to go home and very likely have a pork chop,
Yeah, what do we have today?
avocado, and maybe some cheese for supper. And I'm looking forward to that, right?
Yeah.
And we've had one coffee today.
Yeah, one coffee, yeah.
It is.
Same goes for the like we often talk about our Caesar salad. We
It's-
look forward to that.
It's 8:18.
It's 8, yeah.
And we've had one cup of
Coffee
coffee today, and I'm fine actually. I'm gonna go cook because I didn't cook it yet. Oh, and by the way, interestingly enough, just because one of the questions before was about our kids, for some strange reason I have no idea why, but yesterday my daughter decided I don't need supper, and she didn't have supper. Can you imagine 5 years ago? Well, not 5 years ago. She'd been too young. I wouldn't have allowed it. But can you imagine 2 years ago her saying, I'm not having supper? I can't imagine that. It would have been, what are we eating? What are we eating? What are we, right? So again, I feel like sometimes we put so much focus on what we're eating because we're eating for fun, right? She wasn't hungry. She's like, why am I going to bother eating something? I'm not hungry. And she didn't eat.
Yeah.
And today she ate, right? And it's like, whatever. Like, we don't need to focus so much time, energy, effort on trying to make food fun. But we do, because food companies have taught us very well. Because why? Because they want our money. And that's the saddest thing that I've ever had to say, but it's the truth. They do it because they want our money, not because they're trying to give us healthy food, not even because they're trying to give us safe, fun snacks. They're willing to feed us garbage to get our money. And we allow it because we buy the products.
Yeah.
We buy the products. So as long as we're going to buy those products, we need to live those repercussions, consequences, whatever you want to call it, because we allowed ourselves to buy those products. And so do I think there's a possibility that there's something in there that's just like pulling you? Yeah, there might be, right? There might be something that they put in there that's just, they got you. That combination, that hyper palatability that they were trying to create, it got you.
They got you there. They
No,
succeeded.
and it's not even, it's scary.
And yeah, but it's different for like not like every person is the same. Like
Yeah,
for
but
you use that, but for other people,
and you know
it might
what?
be other thing.
What was that slogan? Once you pop, you can't stop. Huh? Remember that one? You can't eat just one. Remember that one? Like they are so blatant as to say it to us, and still, right? They say it to us. I remember there's another one where they open the bag and he smells like, can you eat just one? They say it to us, and we don't realize that they're not joking. Their job is to get us to go through the bag and want to buy
more.
another. Are we letting them do that to us? This is the question. Right, guys, I don't want you to let wellness warriors, do not let them do it to you. Because we all have the right to say, my money is going towards whole foods to fuel, build, and grow this body. Right? We all have the right to say that. And if you say it, you will have a healthier, better built, better quality body. I want you guys all to say it. I'm not sure if answering comments is the safe way to go for me because I get really riled up, but he figured out another way to get me. I want to thank you guys for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. T-shirts in the description below. We love making these videos for you guys. Like, subscribe, and share the video because we can help other people do better with their health. Can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.
Talk to you next week.